is nothing new, but it feels like there has been an explosion of these gritty style images. Think slow shutter, think blurred subject, think grain slapped up to 100 type of photo. Essentially the opposite of what we would usually describe as like a technically well taken photo. And yes, this might just be a trend. Everyone is copying everyone else because they think it's cool. But I've been wondering, why now? I think I've got a couple of ideas and I'd love to know your thoughts. I'm JP, a street photography enthusiast, an author and a professional photographer capturing images for global brands. And I create content that I wish I had earlier in my career. And here are a list of all of the topics, should you want to skip around and to, see what interests you. So let's get into it. Artistic rebellion. Technology nowadays is mad. Lenses are hyper sharp, sensors are higher resolution than ever, and ISO performance is just insane. The professional look has become less about the skill of the photographer and more about the kit that you own. And even phone brands are slowly becoming camera manufacturers, as all they seem to compete on is camera quality and image quality, right? And so this makes the majority of things created feel so clinical. And real enthusiasts for photography are starting to rebel against the perfectionism. And I think that one of the reasons why this is because it's such a flex to dance between these lines, because it's so hard to do so. You have to have a true understanding of the genre to be able to create images with this messy, gritty, raw aesthetic, to still look beautiful, to still have that allure and that attraction. And it's so hard to do successfully because you've got to be aware of the rules that you're breaking in order to break them. Otherwise you're going off on your own tangent, right? And so maybe even with the trend of AI becoming particularly more prominent recently, this is pushing the trend even further as it improves into realism. The rise of emotional storytelling. Gritty images communicate a feeling rather than a fact. Often you can't really distinguish any of the details in the image. Rather, we're focusing the viewer on the vibe that the image gives off. It's less about what's in the frame and more about its expression. And whether that's like a spooky, creepy vibe, or like an energetic expression, or the speed of something moving. When used in conjunction with clean images that are communicating the facts of what's going on, the gritty vibes really add that emotional texture that creates a richer story. Aesthetics are the new commodity. Right now, there is a real craze that everything is content, which means that most people have watched basic videos on how to make stuff look beautiful. And then you have, I guess, like brands that are quite unoriginal, focusing on creating a polished, holier than thou aesthetic to match their over or hyper PR'd image. You combine that with influencers that have created a formula that they stick to, which in many cases in the fashion world it's the grey interiors that go with every outfit that they put on, or it's the photographers that Google best photo spots in the city and just literally copy and paste the images they've seen online into their profile. It's so easy to create imagery that is clean and polished that it's almost become soulless. And our feeds are oversaturated with this sterile content that has almost created a concept called polish fatigue, maybe. And there is a real yearning for true, authentic expression because audiences are so quick to recognize these classic visual tropes. And so there's almost like an overcorrection towards this gritty imagery, the real feeling behind the photos. And not only does it stand out visually on our feeds, it does just trigger something more emotional within you. And then that means that it typically performs well on social media and then encourages more of these raw and gritty feeling images. Reflection on the times. So this one is a little esoteric, but might explain the rationale for now. And so, for many reasons, it feels like times are tough right now, no matter who you are. And this creates an emotional backdrop to life that all of us are currently aware of. And so when we see another brand or another influencer creating super clean, polished images where everything is amazing, it feels so disconnected to reality. They are trying to make being perfect an aspiration, but that isn't the reality that all of us live in, right? And so there are a couple of brands who are doing it right, and they are flying right now. Arguably because they lean into the realness in the aspirational world. They acknowledge our genuine experience. Take UVU, for example. They are embracing the gritty reality of what it takes to better yourself. It's about putting in the work when the weather sucks, when you don't feel like it. And this is emphasized with the gritty, raw imagery in flat light. It makes the harsh reality of it look cool. It makes it feel creative because you're creating something which should typically be not that creative, but you're making it cool. Do you get what I mean? And so everyone that is aware of, I guess, what the brand stands for and are also on that grind, they love it because it feels like it is directly talking to them. It's aligning with the consumer experience almost perfectly. And now we're probably onto the most obvious one, which is visual nostalgia. And I'm sure you agree with me that the digital world really kind of sucks the life out of you. When you are deep in a scroll hole on your phone, you leave it not feeling good, right? And so we have that like visceral experience with our phones and digital world. And so we are almost craving nostalgia for something that we've never felt before, which is a phrase called, I think it's anemia, I believe. And so we look back on the analog times and we glorify them. And arguably the images that are shot on film are the greatest embodiment of these times, right? Because they didn't have digital cameras back then. And that's our only reference to that time to really see what it was like. And so whether the photo is trash or not, the gritty, grainy images immediately give us that feeling of anemia. We feel like an attachment to it. And you combine this with the other imperfections of film cameras, where you're slightly missing focus or using slow shutter speeds. We just love the feeling and the craving of it. And it's so much more about the moment itself than the technical aspect of the image. And in a way, these images are consumed differently. Old photos were consumed in photo albums. They were real, they were physical, they existed, which is in stark contrast to our phone's camera roll, where we have nearly 100 photos of the same identical scene with all the photos being slightly oversaturated and oversharpened. So that might be why we're really feeling hooked to it right now. And so what do you think? Do you think that this is a flash in the pan? Do you think it's here to stay? And yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts. So let me know down below. And until next time, see you in the streets.